Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, sitting inside the state capitol in Carson City. We are joined today by John Hambrick. He is a member of the Nevada State Assembly. And I want to tell you a brief story. I live in a nice neighborhood, nice kids, basically what you would think. And in my nice neighborhood, one of our friend's daughters, a 17-year-old, vanished for 3 months. And you know where I'm going.
Yep.
She was trafficked.
Yeah.
She was trafficked. She became a sex slave, and this was a nice girl, a 17-year-old nice girl.
Yep.
And thank God she's back. It's been a couple of years, but you've been working diligently on human trafficking, sex trafficking, and it could be anyone.
Absolutely. Race is no issue. Economic background is no issue. Family, you could be from a broken home or what we call the nuclear family.
Right. Nice home.
Nice home.
Right.
And it doesn't matter.
What's stunning to me about human trafficking, and I only learned this in the wake of what happened to our friend, as well as covering the issue on our show. I had always thought it was girls from Laos and girls from Guatemala. It's girls from Reno and girls from Sacramento.
Okay.
And boys from Los Angeles. I mean, a lot of human trafficking, most is domestic.
It is. We have, at one point, it was 64% from Pacific Rim and south of the border. Now that has flipped.
Right.
Now it's 64% from within the state. And if I may,
please,
some of the things you look for, a good, as you said, a good girl. Now the average age of entering into trafficking is 14. Now if that's average, it goes lower.
Right.
The life expectancy is 22. And I want life expectancy is 22.
I hear you. I want to ask you about what we can do. Because what I learned is that if something doesn't look right, something's probably not right. So, for example, I was speaking with Assemblywoman Jill Tolles about this issue, and I was explaining to her that if I all of a sudden saw a 15-year-old carrying a Louis Vuitton bag and had new diamond earrings and the nicest shoes, that doesn't make sense. Something smells there.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, there are other things to look at, particularly for the younger victims.
Right.
And a number of years ago, the term, there'd be all kinds of terms, but now they're called victims. Even the Department of Justice are now calling them victims. But the younger victims, particularly if parents are concerned, you start looking for junior high.
Right.
And we've had victims in elementary school. But if they start losing their friends, girlfriends, or Girl Scouts or brownies, and they start changing wardrobe. The black nail polish, the black toenail polish, and believe it or not, their feet. If you look at the back of their feet around the heels, they'll start getting blisters because they're wearing high heels, something they have not seen before. And so the subtle changes, and obviously grades.
Tattoos?
That could be, and sadly the pimps are now using very sophisticated methods of tattooing them and almost putting barcodes on them.
Well, they're marking them.
Yeah, they
like literally like heifers.
Yep.
I mean, it's horrifying.
Yep.
It's horrifying. What can we do in Nevada? Because, look, Nevada's it draws the party crowd, especially in Clark County. Well, it was Washoe County as well. And so some of these people step over the line. So what should we do? What are you doing?
Well, early on, I had a bill a couple sessions ago that went through, and we were able to put signs up at bus stations, at truck stops, and these young victims, the truckers call them lounge lizards, or because they go from truck to truck, trying to, and their pimps are somewhere in the parking lot watching them. But I think what we need to do, and if you can remember, go back to the civil rights era, and I'm old enough to remember that, and if you looked on the newsreels and TV, you'd have the center of this march were the religious, Martin Luther King, Ralph Abernathy, and then you'd start going off and you have the clergy on both sides. Well, that was a civil rights issue, but that is not so far afield from the trafficking. I can go to and stand on a street corner, and I have done it in the past with signs trying to stop trafficking, but you get the clergy involved. If I can reach 25 people, a member of the clergy, and regard Christian, Jewish, Islamic.
No, I hear you, right.
But when they go to the houses of worship, they'll have anywhere from 52 to 2,000 or 3,000. and they can get the message out.
Especially the mega
much quicker.
churches.
That's right.
Especially, well, I thank you for your service on that front. I want to speak about another issue.
Okay.
It's an issue that is dividing Nevadans, but I think it's important we discuss it, and that is the Educational Savings Account Initiative. As we know, last session, under Republican leadership, you were the leader, the speaker then, working with the governor, Governor Sandoval, passed a provision which provides about $5,000 of funding, where it comes from, other conversation, for parents to use for educational purposes, K-12 purposes. Now we have the Democrats in control, and we need a legislative fix because of that funding mechanism. The Nevada Supreme Court was a little queasy about it. What's the update?
Well, I spoke with the governor a couple of weeks ago on several issues, more of a personal visit at the beginning of the session, and it's been a routine.
Right.
But he, I believe, will be bringing legislation on the ESAs, and he is committed to this issue. And personally, I believe that it's almost like a school choice issue for the parents.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
I mean, they're wearing yellow scarves. I mean, this is really...
And I've got one in my office.
I believe you. I believe you.
But I truly believe that this would not necessarily harm the public schools if right now our state treasurer has several hundred people just waiting, and the Supreme Court has said it's not unconstitutional, but we have to fix the funding aspect.
But that means we need a legislative fix, and your friends on the Democratic side are now in control of the legislature, and look, you know better than I, they're queasy about it. You know, they're queasy. Their constituency feels as if there are First Amendment issues, there are civil rights issues, and so how can you talk to your friends on the Democratic side, I assume you're an advocate of ESAs, to say, look, this isn't about that, and let's just clean this up and move on.
We will try to do that as the governor introduces his legislation, both in the state Senate and the state Assembly. We'll start having hearings. But when it comes down to it, if the governor has an issue, again, the sea change in the state legislature, but in the Assembly we're 15, which is the magic 1/3.
Right.
And so we can support the governor, we can sustain his veto or override a veto, and I'm sure he will be having discussions with the Democrat leadership.
But what's interesting about that approach is, so he would be vetoing, for example, a educational funding bill because it doesn't include money for ESAs, let's say. But if he vetoes it, then what happens? It's not that he's vetoing a bill that's overturning ESAs. It's parliamentary, but it's complicated.
Oh, it's very complicated because by our Constitution, the first thing that has to get funded is education.
Right. So can he force the Democrats to put the money into the budget? Presumably not. So
that's a political question.
Exactly. Exactly.
The term force, that's a political question.
Right. But you see where I'm going? It seems like there's a lot of parliamentary maneuvering because he's vetoing a bill that has something that he wants in there, but it's not there.
Yeah, and this is where the negotiation, the state Senate, the leader for it, is very, very strong in his opinions and has made a statement this would never happen. But now the rubber's going to meet the road here in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
So I really wonder how this ends because it is a revolutionary idea and it's an experiment that, presuming it moves forward, will be watched throughout the nation. I believe that in the depth of my core. I want to thank you for joining us. His name is John Hambrick. He is a member of the Nevada State Assembly. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thanks for joining us on Local Edition.